Sweat Equity Podcast and Streaming Show, the number one business comedy business podcast in the world. I'm so excited because we got John Huck of the Speaking Highly podcast, and my good buddy who's a stand-up comedian. You can see him on This Is Not Happening on Comedy Central, cc.com or YouTube if you've seen those This Is Not Happening stories. His is really funny about going to Oktoberfest. Number one business comedy podcast in the world, pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with real raw dog talk. I'm your host, Lost Miss, and to my right, your left is Eric Redinger.
Some people call me Cool Eric.
Still true.
And we're 2020's best small, medium enterprise business advisory podcast in the United States from Lux Global Excellence Awards provided by Lux Life Magazine. Boom!
Wow.
That's how we do it. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. This episode 298 is sponsored by Grasshopper. Try grasshopper.com/sweat. Like Key Sweat gets you $75 off an annual plan. What's Grasshopper, you say? It's a scalable business phone line. You need a vanity phone number for your business? Boom! Grasshopper's right there, jumping all over. Get it? Grasshopper jumping? Try grasshopper.com/sweat. Like defensive end Montez Sweat. Get you 75 bones off an annual plan. Who's doing that for you? No one in the podcast game but us. That's trygrasshopper.com/sweat. Like Key Sweat. Montez Sweat. Get $75 off that annual plan. You can add phone numbers to this. You can do the desktop app if you like to do that. I can text from the desktop app.
Ooh, that's
like
big.
That. Yeah, because I got sweaty fingers and I like the keyboard. I like the old school keyboard. I like to talk to people through that. You can port numbers in. You don't need to get a second phone like a burner phone, like a drug dealer. And if you have a Google Voice number, did you know you can't do advertisements to that? Google Voice number, not for businesses.
Oh.
So
what's it for?
It's
Google.
It's just collecting data over time, slowly knowing what you like, year by year, because nothing's free, baby. Ain't no free lunches in business. Am I right? Am I right? Let's get it started. Howdy toddy!
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. Sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
I haven't, no.
Well, we've done 300? Almost 300, yeah.
Fuck, that's a lot, dude. That's
Yeah.
fantastic, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. It's the only consistent thing in my life the last 5 years.
I know.
Dude, I've never gotten a podcast over 198 episodes or something like that.
Well, to be fair, that's pretty good, man. Ours is pretty cheat code because ours are 33 minutes, so.
Yeah, but I don't think it's not about the time necessarily as much as it is about the dedication of getting one out every week, of getting the guests, of continuing that, and like Eric also being into it. That's what I always ran into. I was like, it would be like, yeah, just as the thing is picking up steam, I'm like, we're doing it. And then the person I was doing it with is like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, okay. And you can't. I mean, I completely understand that. People have lives. They don't want to be involved in podcasts all the time.
In a weird way, so I was doing it before Eric, but Eric came in and made it a lot better.
Thank you.
And then we found we both kind of cathartically needed this. I mean, especially when you couldn't get on stage to do stand-up.
Just the connection you can sort of get from something like this.
Yeah, and like I may never reach out to you otherwise. You know, we might just follow each other online and say, "Oh, cool." You know, you're going to mention the first white woman goalie because I'm waiting for a black chick to come fuck it up. Just awesome.
Well, look, you got people like Sarah. I think her name is Sarah Nurse. She's I don't know that she's necessarily retired, but I think I don't know that she's aiming to play in the NHL, but I feel like she's a player that could make it in the NHL if she worked. But I could be wrong.
Wait, you mean the player you posted about on your?
No,
Instagram?
that was 1992 or whatever.
What was her name?
Her name was. I'm not going to do it any justice. It's very. Yes, it's like I want to say it's French.
Yeah, I think
it's French Canadian because it's like red.
Yeah.
Are
you still listening?
Again, I'm not trying to like butcher it. I just don't know how to say it.
Well, yeah, and you checked in at a very for anybody. We're rolling, so anybody listening, if you go on John Huck's Instagram, he posted a few days before recording this that I don't know if you meant to because you're coming on this show, probably not. But
I did. It was the fact that she played for the Lightning. I was just searching to see if any woman had ever played in the NHL, and she's the one who popped up.
And yeah, and that would have been the first year the Lightning was in play in Tropicana, where the Rays play now.
No, they played in the fairgrounds their first year.
They did?
I went to a game.
Oh wow!
I went to a game at the fairgrounds.
I thought '93 they played in the Tropicana.
No, they moved on. They moved over to the baseball field.
But their first. They played it. First of all, they played in the Tropicana. That is a cavernous.
Yeah.
I mean, to have a hockey team in there would be so weird. I think personally.
If you read the extra 2%, there's actually some cool Chicago stuff in there. It's one of the best business books I like to throw out. It's about how the Rays applied Moneyball to part of the game, but also managerial experience matters too. And it's awesome business book. Or just metaphor for business if you want to kind of think about it in that direction. And if you're like us, where you need this kind of through line of baseball to kind of keep you entertained for a business book, Joni Carey did a great job with it. But he does a great job. I didn't know this, and I grew up here, and so did Eric, that Tropicana was built before they had a team. So every team used it as leverage to get a new stadium. Chicago White Sox had an interesting one in '89 where they were supposed to pass something. I know you're a Cubs fan, but in '89, they're supposed to do some bill where, if the clock strikes midnight and we don't all agree on X, Y, and Z to get a new stadium, Comiskey, I guess, what that became, or Co-America Park, or whatever it is now.
Yeah, Comiskey was the original park, and then the
U.S. Cellular
Co-America
or something like that.
Yes, it is U.S. Cellular now.
Okay.
Wow.
So. Look, I'm big into naming rights to stadiums.
Yeah, weird. Know that.
I have a weird Asperger's brain for a lot of this stuff.
That's the kind of stuff you just hear and then it sinks in and you're like, I think that's where they play.
Yeah.
You just know because you know.
Plus, the Big Hurt played for the White Sox, so I was kind of, before we had a team here, I was kind of a White Sox guy.
I love the Big Hurt.
Hey,
is he an Auburn guy?
War Eagle that. Is he an Auburn
there
guy?
We go.
We have Bo Jackson, Charles
know it,
Barkley,
and
Frank Thomas all in the same era, all wear number 34. That's why I sport number 34 and everything. Yeah.
Sporting a big erection, too.
Dude, I have a chub. I passed my my sperm test at the vasectomy doctor.
Congratulations!
Ooh, what'd you get?
Nothing. Zero.
C minus.
You
got a zero.
Yeah, you want a zero. Yeah. I high-fived the nurse. She thought it was weird, but I was like, yippee!
Was that just to make sure your boys can swim?
Cannot swim. I'm cut. I'm 2-0 in kids. I don't need any more. I feel like I'm going out like LaShawn McCoy, 2 Super Bowl wins in a row.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's a good pull. And I don't need any more kids. I'm good, man. Put me in the Dad Hall of Fame, I guess.
Was he even on the team?
He was on the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm talking about the Bucks.
He was on the Bucks.
I know, but did he actually suit up for the Super Bowl?
He gets a ring.
Nobody knows. We forget we had LeJean McCoy.
The towel boy gets
riding
a ring.
the bench.
He got a ring. So they talk about Chicago, and this is a Chicago politics story. That's what you hear about. It made me interested. Maybe go do a deep dive on some of the Windy City politics stuff. But so the time elapses. They're going to lose the White Sox to Tampa. They're going to Tampa to have this new stadium in '89 or '90 or something like that. And then a guy physically gets up on this big clock, like a politician in a suit, physically climbs up to this clock, winds it back an hour, and they redo. Everybody votes again. Fucking White Sox stay there.
What?
I honestly didn't know that there was a chance that they were. I didn't think they were trying to leave. I just thought they wanted a new stadium.
It's leverage, right?
Yeah.
So it's all. But I didn't know the Giants did it too. They said the Giants in San Francisco, they're on the tarmac, getting ready to go into their private jet to fly to Tampa, and the mayor of San Francisco and a bunch of other people are like, no, like very romantic stories about
chasing the plane,
right?
Come back.
But in a business sense and a municipal sense, how dumb St. Pete or Pinellas County was, or the Tampa Bay area for putting a stadium before they had a team.
That's pretty weak
And
because
it's
you're
like one of
using
the
a lot
few-
of taxpayer dollars to do that. And
It's one of the few instances where it's happened, they said, and the reason that it doesn't happen before you have to get the stadium done before you have the team and stuff is because of this.
They're still dealing with that stupid thing too. Like it should be, in Hillsborough County, we're still dealing
where
with
Tampa is.
lease issues and stuff like that. Where it's like, oh my god, how much longer is that? Isn't it next year? I think the lease is up, and who cares?
Yeah, it's neither here nor there. But to put a bow into this, you're promoting on your Instagram some interesting stories I noticed sports wise, right? Just
yeah, I mean, I try to keep my Instagram like one column. I'm trying to do this. Like one column is just for my podcast. One column is just for random personal stuff that I post, like goofy shit, and then one is for history or related to if we're going through like it's Women's History Month. So I'm gonna put up stuff that interests me that is like involved in that. So it'll be kind of like a historic sort of historic and mostly sports because that's I find when I go back in history I'm always curious as to who won the World Series that year or who and I'm always coming back to that year was this and this happened around sports somehow, and then whatever else happened.
Can I nominate someone who's near and dear to Eric's kind of neighborhood is Babe Zaharis.
Oh yeah,
Babe Zaharis.
Yeah, golfer.
Female golfer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look her up.
She was supposed to be one of the best athletes of all time as a woman, or I don't know what else she played.
When did she play?
A long time ago.
40s?
Yeah,
Oh wow, cool. I like to me, it's nice when you. Because a lot of times you go in like, who was the first woman to do this? Or who was the first black person to do this? And then you type it in and then the answer you get is like somebody from like last week. And you're like, dude, it took this long for like, it gets to be, you just feel like it's insane. But her name was what? I'm going to write it down.
Babe, like the pig, Babe.
Okay. Or like the baseball player.
Look.
Like the pig.
The pig.
Like the pig.
She's Babe, like the pig.
Like the
I can say because she's not a pig.
Bag.
She was an athlete. And then that's a good say.
No athletes have ever been pigs before.
You've never seen curling, boy.
Charles Barkley.
Wait.
Oh,
the round mound to rebound. Come on.
His name was the round.
Who 6'4", but rebounded better than people that are like 6'8", 6'9". That's why I like him.
Legit talent.
Determined.
And look, he's the closest thing to a comedian analyst.
I do love Charles Barkley. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think I don't know too much about basketball, but I've never not. I mean, when the Suns and the Bulls, I guess I was like, Charles Barkley's annoying, but like now I'm like, I like him. I just think he says what he wants to say, and it's never anything that's like so insanely offensive or crazy where you're like, oh, you have weird ideas. He's just like out there doing his thing.
I like anybody who doesn't look like they're supposed to look. Charles even like
That's fair.
George Gervin is all like
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, that sort of shit. Like like Bartolo Colon. That guy's a professional athlete.
Dude, when he hit that home run like 2 or 3 seasons ago, and they clock him running, it's like 2 minutes to get around the bases or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I live for that kind of fat
me too.
pitchers hitting dingers is like what?
I live for fat pitchers just fielding the ball. To see them like
doing
wandering
anything.
around, it's just like you're an athlete. Holy shit!
That's the thing, dude. That's why I think baseball is great, is because you can still, even today, you can still have those guys with a little bit of. It's not as bad or as prevalent, but like you can't do that in football unless you're a lineman, I guess. Hockey, you got to be in shape, man. You can't be like like cigars and chicken wings. It's like, dude.
And we feel like a spurned ex-girlfriend that you have Joe Madden as your skipper.
Not anymore.
I know, but I mean, you had him to get you there,
Yeah. Oh, dude.
You got him in the good times. When he had a good back, when he was going through a midlife crisis.
I mean,
you got him in the good husband years.
Those restaurants.
I loved him.
Taking you out all the time. He never took us out.
Dude, I love him. Like I still I'll watch Angels games just to catch a glimpse of him in the dugout and be like, hey, all right, buddy. Like I love the guy.
Dude, he's one of the few guys I've met in person that I completely fanboyed out, and I was like, the extra 2%. I read that book, man. It's cool.
My dad claims to have played baseball against him at some point. I don't know. I guess they grew up in the same area.
Hazleton, PA, baby.
Yeah, my dad was drafted by the Reds, but
nice.
chose football and then blew his knee out.
Yeah, we're both failures of our dad's.
Yeah, I mean, his dad played pro football, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Who'd your dad play for?
He played for the LA Rams for 5 years, and then the Washington Redskins for a year. He was
No shit, I didn't know that, man. That's cool.
Yeah, if you look up Larry Smith, or you look at the 1969 Playboy All-American team, it's a picture with him and OJ and a bunch of other guys.
Wow.
So I like to say OJ's your BFF, and he never laughed at that joke. But
Dude, it could have been your dad in that white Bronco going, you know who this is? This is Law Smith's dad.
yeah, he would have been AC in that situation.
That's what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Because AC calls, you know who this is? This is AC. I got OJ.
Well,
Like,
I think he did live in Brentwood at one point in time, so could have.
Where was your dad that night?
I bet if he was
I was with him that day because I was at a Gator
Alibi,
because he
okay.
played for the Florida Gators. They do a reunion every year. He played like with Spurrier when he was his quarterback when he won the Heisman and stuff. And they do a reunion every year in Crystal River where all the manatees are out here called Silver 60. So all the 60s football players, they meet up once a year. They tell the same stories over and over.
Sure, man.
Yeah, and
Have a couple beers, slap each other on the back.
Yeah, and I remember. No, it's awesome. It's awesome to hear the stories because look, it took him. I told you the story, and I bring it up when I get drunk watching the games just to annoy our other friend. But it took till like 5 years ago. My dad telling this story where he beat Tommy Smith, the sprinter, Olympic sprinter, in a foot race in like the 1969 like spring training or the football summer training.
Preseason.
Yeah, they brought in. They were starting to bring in outside athletes at that time. That was like.
Oh yeah.
And so they put Smith against Smith. George Allen did it. Dick Vermeil, his special teams coach, who he had. Who he had. Yeah, he cried a lot. Who he had Thanksgiving with because he'd have the rookies have Thanksgiving.
That's cool.
And he had an off-season job, which is the other part. So he went to Tigerland boot camp for one off season. I think he went to school for another. Had another job in the off season back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah. If you get
Cool.
now, you're getting this makeup of this frantic, always doing stuff thing I have.
Hey.
This might
Am I
be
as good
wild.
as my dad now?
No, just you got to keep moving. You got to keep doing
Am I
stuff.
as good as my dad now?
Oh no, I'll never be, dude. He's the most like modest.
I know.
He's like the most modest dude of all time.
That's nice to hear though too.
Yeah. Well, you put him on stage, he's like, he'll like puke.
Oh
all
yeah,
over
you
his cue cards.
destroy him on stage.
Yeah, I'll fucking heckle the shit out of him. But here's something gratitude your way because I'm always thankful when you wanted to record your CD or your album about 10 years ago. You asked me to open for you, and that it was always one of those nice things in comedy because Mark Franco at least told me this. I don't know if it was real or not. I'm going to say it was real that you specifically asked for me to open. Now looking back, it might be you might want someone that
It's like Will Smith is available.
will not do too well. Ahead of you.
No. That's never been my.
No, I'm kidding. I don't think you're.
Yeah, that's never been like.
calculated.
Even when I headline and I have a feature, people are like, do you like your feature to not be good?" I'm like, "Not particularly. I like the audience to have a good time, and if I have to work, if I feel I have to work harder, then that is fucking on me. You know what I mean? That's my problem."
No, and that meant a lot to me when I was probably 25, 26, and I was still much younger than a lot of people around. I mean, you're not that much older. I mean, I'm 36. How old are you?
I'm fucking 46. I'm 10 years older than you do.
Well,
So
I always felt really young compared to everybody around. But then you talk to like Santino or someone, and him and I are the same age, or a lot of these guys that were knocking around, they just felt older to me. So I always felt like a young cat around all y'all. And so it was cool when you're like, let him open for me for the album. Because that's like, you want to be a good leadoff hitter too when you're young in the game. If you can just.
Well, you're also on the album now. You know what I mean? Like, the intro is you bringing me up. So it's like,
fuck yeah.
You're like, ladies and gentlemen, John Huck. So it's you, which isn't why I chose you. I think at the time I had done several shows with you. We were having a good I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody who I had to like, fucking deal with necessarily. It's like, please do your time. Then bring up Brian. Then bring up, you know what I mean? It was like
Christian
a regular
Harloff doing
show.
his Justin Timberlake bit.
I don't remember that bit, but I like Harloff.
No, I love him too. That's I was just trying to bring up what's the most energetic bit that was done in Room 5.
I mean, have you ever seen? I think some of the most the most intense energy I've seen on stage, besides like Brody Stevens and his like, you know what I mean, like real kind of like.
Talk about Asperger's baseball memory.
In it.
Jesus Christ, dude! I saw him in 2004 in the Melrose Improv before when I was in college, just thinking about moving to LA, visiting Brendan T. Gleason out there. And Brody comes on stage and is like, "Where are you from?" And people would be like all over the place. And he could go, "Yep, Chris Archer came out of there. Where are you from?"
Yep.
And I think he called on our tables like Tampa Jesuit. He's like, Lou Piniella, Rich McKay. Like he could list every famous.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was.
I'm saying it's weird because we were just talking about him.
Yeah, well, we're talking about him about 2 hours ago. But that energy is tough to follow too.
Dude, absolutely. I think if you ever want to hear like a really good Brody talk, we did a podcast with him about the Cubs winning the World Series because he was at all 7 games and he only had a ticket to 1. And he like ended up just walking in, you know, and he had this bit. He's like, I went to preschool with Kevin Millar. He had frosted tips. Like it was just that kind of thing. Like he saw Millar, waved at him, goes down on the field for game 6, no press credentials, just walking around. And it's like, the dude was something else, man. Yeah, it's a wild interview.
I got to open for him once, just randomly here in Tampa when Tripoli. I was working with Tripoli for a weekend in Florida. Him and Red Band in Florida, and like nice. Oddball was here, and so we were trying to get someone to come in from Oddball, just come down. He came down. It was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this guy in like 10 years, and he's just fucking ripping this. Yes, positive energy. Let's do it. 818 till I die. No one knows.
No one knows. That's the
area code of Hollywood.
It's just it's one of those things like the back of the room is dying, especially when the front of the room isn't getting it. You know what I mean? Like somehow that made me laugh even harder when people were like, "What is happening? Why is he kicking? Why is he making high kicks? Like, what is he playing drums on a chair?" Like people were just their minds were like, "What is going on?" I loved it.
I was listening to Speaking Highly now on iTunes. Ooh. Apple Podcasts.
Nice plug.
Weave that in there on Spotify and all that too.
And Pandora, yeah.
With our old friend Amy, or my old friend I haven't talked to in a while, Amy Dresner, who I'm going to reach out to because her story is so interesting. I didn't know she wrote. I forgot she wrote the book. I want to go buy it now about addiction.
Book is great, dude. It's really. I mean, at times it's heartbreaking, but it's a good book. Like she puts it all out there, man. She did that to help other people, and it worked.
Yeah, and I definitely want to read it and then ask her to come on. I'm going to piggyback your guest. I'm just going to go through. Can Garrett Morris come on? Can you give me his info?
Yeah, I can give you everybody's info, dude. Everyone I've had on.
Be careful.
It's cool, man.
We'll just piggyback because we're our own booking too. But what's it?
Yeah, I mean, I have to call these people. You know what I mean? I call them direct and like.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes I guess I would put you in that category. You could have someone booking for you. You couldn't. I don't know. I'll lean towards.
I would rather like. I want to reach out to people. Like, here's what I like about the podcast I'm doing now. Like, it's a positive podcast. It's basically about anything I like that I think is cool or neat or inspiring or entertaining. And when you hit people up and you say, that's what my show is about, and I want you as a guest because I think you're those things, most people aren't like, how dare you call me inspiring, positive, and entertaining? I fuck you and your podcast. It's like never like that. It's most people get back to me like, oh, wow, thank you. That's great. I would love to do that.
Yeah. And
Garrett, though, I've known Garrett for a while. He didn't even know what the podcast was. He agreed to do it.
He didn't know. He thought y'all were just talking.
Dude, he goes, what's this show called? I go, it's called Speaking Highly. And he goes, oh, and then he lights up a joint. I'm like, no, you don't have to. It's not about. And he goes, whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine. Garrett Morris.
One of the first cast members of SNL. I mean, that, right?
Dude. Yeah. He was, I mean, his stories, that dude goes.
Yeah, remember he used to be the guy that would be, they'd put like a little circle, he'd be yelling. I forget the bit.
Well, it's news for the hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And he was the last person cast. But he was in the first original Not Ready for Primetime Players cast. So
wow.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
He had a club out there, right, in downtown LA. Or
That's throwing the word around loosely.
I don't know.
Club. Oh
I
man,
haven't been to LA since Auburn lost to FSU in the national championship, so it's been a while.
I don't know when that was. When was that?
Come on, it's 2014, early 2014 for the 2013 season. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it was down there. It was like a roving. We called it the roaming comedy club because you like one day it would be in this one restaurant, and then the next week your show would be in a dilapidated, like it looked like they were squatting in a burnt out coffee shop for a second. It was like always.
You were ahead of your time with it.
Yeah,
That's
right.
how it is now. Are you getting up on stage? So that's why it's good to reach out for our podcast in the same kind of approach, because look, we talk about, we just want to be vessels of people who are smarter than us, vessels of good information. And look, everybody's entrepreneurial in some direction or another. Sometimes you're in a corporate position. We talked about being an intrapreneur where you're stuck in middle management, but you got to be the best person within. That could be easily a comedian working on a sitcom that they're the second banana on or something like that. But I love talking to comedians because we're very grimy in the sense that we'll find stuff that's the kind of latest technology or latest wave a lot of the time for self-interest, but because your own career, which isn't a bad thing. It sounds like I'm being kind of pejorative, but I think you're always having to constantly evolve and calibrate yourself. And when I was listening to you with that interview with Amy, you talked about rolling back from the booze. And I knew you as a booze party guy like I was, but not to the point where it seemed detrimental. I could tell you weren't something that, you could party hard. You might go on a string of that. You're going to feel like shit probably, but it didn't feel like you're boozy, alcoholic-y boozy. And I was listening to that. You said you pulled back. Is that for a little bit of your own self-calibration to like focus on work?
It was a couple of different things. I had gone to a concert and I kind of blacked out, and I was like, dude, what am I doing? I'm 40 in my 40s. Like, why do I paid money for that show and I don't remember it. I have to go look up the set list online. Like, it was just, I was really.
I paid money for an ABBA cover van, and I
how did I get?
And I don't even
what is
remember.
This? What is this ticket stub?
I don't even remember Dancing Queen. This is bullshit.
It was, and then my body just didn't. As you get older, you don't bounce. Like in my 20s and my 30s, I could drink all day and go to sleep and wake up and go to work. And now it's like I had to clear my schedule if I had a hangover. It was just not. It was just not fun anymore. It's like how I've quit everything. Like when I didn't want to smoke cigarettes anymore, I just go, I don't want to do this anymore, and I just quit. Like I don't. It's not. Yeah, I'm not saying there weren't times early on where I was like, man, I want to drink because I don't know what else to do. And this is what I would normally do. But once you fill that with, I can do anything I want except drink. And then everything is wide open. Like my comedy got better. Being on the road was more fun because I would go venture out into cities instead of being hung over in a hotel room all day. Like, I mean, doing comedy, I would do the show. I'd get plastered. I'd go to bed. I'd wake up and then sleep all day and then do that again. And that sucks. You know what I mean?
It's miserable and it's boring.
It's not fun, dude. Especially when you can go out, get material, walking around whatever shithole town you're in. And that's not to say I do shit. I'm just saying you can go get material, you can walk around, you can enjoy yourself. You don't have to like.
Don't worry, there's not a lot of city councils listening to this. Like,
no, I know.
You can talk shit about Omaha. Fuck this.
Some aldermans heard this.
So where are you at with your career? How are you going forward with everything? You've started Speaking Highly. You're probably as we record this, episode 9 or 8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah, 9 is coming out this week. Yeah.
I'm always curious how my comedian buddies are. That is your main bread and butter as far as income, right? I mean, I don't know. At least comedy is.
For the most part, like I was fortunate. I've gotten some writing gigs here and there, and then I do a lot of producing. Like I used to produce punk. So I go back and sort of step it back into that world and do very well. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was starting to make a lot of headway with the comedy. It was like 2020 was going to be the year when I lined up a lot of like headline dates, and I wasn't because I got very fortunate. I hooked up with this guy, Dan Cummins, who took me on the road.
Oh.
And Dan.
And you have the best
is-
pictures with him on Instagram where you're creeping behind him. Those are the
Dude.
funniest things to me.
Started doing that on a whim because he gets a line of people, and I was just kind of I'm standing there with him, I'm selling my CDs, but I'm like, I'm gonna fuck around here because it's funny. People would come running back in like, oh my god, you took the thing. Like they would get all the way home, they would post a picture, and people on the comments were like, who's the psycho in the background? Like no one knew I was the featured comic.
Bomb.
Just never smile, always psychotic looking. And dude, people started hey, could you do that to me? Could you do that to our picture? Could you do that to us? Hey,
Not
could I
psycho
pose with
enough.
Dan doing that and you with me? And like people get real. I mean, and I should say his fans are really solid human beings.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I'm a time
Like,
sucker.
dude,
Yeah.
I
those
latched
people
onto that show when I couldn't. My daughter was probably 2017. My daughter was a baby. She didn't sleep through the night, and I was like, I have to listen to. She would sleep on my chest most of the nights. Some
Can't
of those
laugh.
nights were the only time she would go to sleep if she just slept on me, and I was losing my mind like insomnia wise. And I found time suck through Bert's podcast when he was on there, and I just latched onto that. And then I became like, oh, I'm a total dork for this show. But I love that show. I love the concept because a lot of comedians have the obsessive, I'm going to be obsessed with this one thing for a week and then pretty much not do much more.
Yeah, but it goes back to the history. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's a man thing, but a lot of guys, it's like
Right.
I love that. Just
and like
breaking it
Dan
down.
has said, he's going to be going down those rabbit holes anyway.
Right.
That's how
Right.
when there are certain people when they get online, they're like, hey, what about robot dogs? And then they're just like, boom. And then it's a whole 3 days of robot dog videos. You know what I mean? It's like, that's how Dan works anyway. When he gets interested in something, he goes really into it. So the podcast made perfect sense for him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
It was like,
and
and I will say this, when you do something you love, it will succeed. Like he had failed podcasts. He moved out of LA, and then he was like, I'm going to do this thing the way I want to do this thing. And cause that's how I like it. And then of course, he's got 4 podcasts going now. He's basically building a podcast empire in Idaho.
in Coeur d'Alene, yeah.
Yeah, dude. In a
Well,
nice house where he's got his kid. I mean, the dude's
It's inspirational
he
for
wins.
us. I mean, we're out of
He
Tampa.
wins.
It's not the hotbed of getting guests in, getting them in person when we get, more studio guests. But it is one of those things. It is like the good will rise to the top if you keep pushing on it. I mean,
It's a numbers game, man.
We just won a Global Excellence Award
Yeah.
for Best Small Medium Business Enterprise Podcast in the United States. So,
Did you really?
yeah.
yeah, but we don't know what is the
Lux Life Global Excellence Award.
yeah, we
it's
did.
good. LuxLife.com.
Yeah.
They don't have anything for you guys to like an award you can put up and go, look at what we won.
We're gonna order our
We're gonna
own.
make our own.
It's just like a
It'll be
wooden
right
statue
here.
with like
It'll
a
be
buck
behind.
teeth.
It'll be sitting right here.
It
like,
will be obnoxious, and
Yeah.
you will see it.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Like I won Best of Tampa, Best Management Consultant 2 years in a row, and it's from a company that pretty much makes money off of selling trophies, selling awards.
That one wasn't,
That's
was it?
really
Yeah.
funny. They gave you an award. It
Yeah,
came
it's
out
a
of the
trophy
back.
scam. They
It was
want
the
you to
discount bin.
They want you to buy this trophy for $250.
Look,
and part of my ego's like, fuck it.
No, all these
People
awards.
see that in my
That
office.
trophy.
No, the thing, the Lux Life, what they do is they give out the awards and they say, listen, you don't have to pay for anything, but if you want to, we will, pimp you out hardcore. We'll put you in the magazine if you want to pay for it and all that stuff. We still won the award, didn't pay him a dime, but we could have really parlayed it if we wanted to spend some money on it and put it out there.
That's the same thing as the trophy scam. Is
But
like,
what a
It is
weird.
I mean, it's a trophy.
I don't
scam.
understand. Like you won, give us money, and we'll put you in the magazine.
Yeah.
It's a sneak.
We're on their website. And,
Okay.
and it's up there to see, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could have paid to have it much more publicized.
Here's why it works, because I think of a bigger marketing department in that realm, because we've been in those worlds, and it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna justify my career here at this job because we wanted a podcast here, so I'm gonna pay for us to get in their magazine because they scratch my back. I'm gonna kind of scratch theirs, and we got to spend our ads spend money by the end of whatever the budget time is, usually the end of the year. So they'll put it in there. and they'll throw it back at them so they can win it the next year. It justifies your job there as a CMO or marketing director or something. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, we get hit up. I get hit up. I don't know if you get hit up as much as I do, just because I'm a LinkedIn whore, but I get hit up all the time to go on people's podcasts because they want. It's a lead generation thing for their business.
Yeah, because you're in the marketing, more in the marketing than I am.
Right, but I'm saying but just LinkedIn wise, it's the only reason they're getting my info. And I just say yes to all of them because it's like, what is 20 minutes?
And little do they know you call them out right at the end. And you're like, oh, how's this lead gen thing going for you guys?
Yeah.
Sweet
the
podcast.
The comic in me can't not say something cutting, right? And that's the thread we're trying to go down is maybe there is a route in this kind of businessy. There's not really a business comedy podcast. We like to say we're the number one because there isn't one. But
why'd you have to say that? Nobody knows.
Huck was thinking it, but I'm saying.
I was writing down research other business comedy podcasts.
But I'm saying
one result on Google.
I like your approach with your podcast of positivity because in a world full of negative kind of talking in the comedy kind of perspective, let's put it under the comedy umbrella, right? There's not a lot of things that are reaching out in that almost optimistic way, in that positive way. Hey, I think this is great. I think, can you come on and talk about that? And that, we talk a lot about fake it till you make it is really placebo effect can help, or motivation is temporary, but it can help,
Yeah, I mean, if you like what you're doing, just keep going. And when I found the idea of that podcast just thinking about doing another podcast. It wasn't like something I'd been ruminating on. I was like, I only want to talk about what I like, and what I like ranges from, camping to marine biology to Saturday Night Live to my so-called life to whatever I fucking want to talk about. You know what I mean? And being able to find guests along those lines. And we focus on, I've never wanted to focus on, I think my first podcast, I probably did it when I would drink while I would do it. So sometimes we would bash things like, fuck that, that's stupid, but I never really want to do that because I heard a saying from Dean Del Rey, which is pretty much what I put. It's like, we say on my podcast, celebrate what's great. He said, promote what's great, but I took it to celebrate what's great, not what you hate. Like, there's no reason. There's a bunch of shit I don't like. There's a lot of people I don't like. There's a lot of things I don't like. Why talk about those things? Why talk about those people when I could shine light on things I do like, things I do give a shit about? And then my comedy has sort of evolved in that sense too. Like, it's not as negative anymore. It's still goofy and I'm still the butt of most of the jokes, but it's got a little bit more of a message at the end.
Yeah, you're reminding me of something I used to tell myself instead of doing a setup. I hate this. I would always spin it until I love, even if I hated what I was talking about. I love when I see that Buick with all the stuffed animals in the back. It's from a different state, and they're driving slow in the left lane. I got to get around because I really love to see their fucking face.
Yeah, I want to see
because they're so goddamn terrible.
Oh, I love this.
And for some reason, and almost faking, even if I'm in a bad mood before you go on stage, even faking a little bit of a smile, for me worked because I have resting bitch face. Like my daughter, I'm potty training her, and she literally tells me, "Dad, smile," and I'm like, that's what men are supposed to say to women out in public. No, but
you should smile more.
She thinks I'm thinking about stuff, and she thinks I'm being a dick. And she's 3, and she just doesn't know. Like that is your.
But she can read your face, and your face looks mean.
Right. Oh yeah. And so,
I wish it looked like
I don't. Yeah.
It's for me. I'm the same way though.
Furrowed brow. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm dehydrated, the vein in the forehead because I got the big noggin that's protruding out. We really kind of gab like gals. I have more questions for you, but we kind of keep these to around 34, 35 minutes. We do want to ask you one question we ask everybody that comes on. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self? Because this podcast, if it's anything, it's to give really pragmatic advice or, hand any pragmatic advice down. We found that this question's at least a setup to a silly answer if you want to do one. But
no,
you time travel, you get a young redheaded. John Huck, you were more redheaded, right?
Yeah. I was strawberry blonde, but yeah,
I saw some
it
old
was
pictures. I was
redder.
like, whoa.
When I was 13, my beard was more red.
Okay, your beard. Yeah. Well, that's the Midwestern toughness. So you can grab him by his Oshkosh Bagosh overall lapels that I imagine he's in.
No shirt. Sure.
And you can tell him something. Yeah, no shirt for sure. And tell him one thing. What would you tell him?
I would tell him celebrate what's great. I would tell him stop focusing on things that you don't like, or stop thinking about the negative side of things, and to move over, because there's no, you'll be in a better place mentally and physically if you are not so fucking angry. And that was because I was a pretty angry kid, and I think that's what I would say. I would say, calm down, dude. Probably maybe slap him a little bit, and then say, take it down a notch.
Yeah.
I can't see that. I can't see you being an angry kid. That's crazy to me.
It wasn't like I walked around punching mailboxes off there. I was like, it just and look, a lot of it was probably just being a high schooler and not being insecure and being, oh, these girls don't like me, or this fucking group of idiots doesn't like me, or whatever, the kind of shit that plays out in a high school kid's mind,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good advice. Yeah, we talk a lot about reducing that radio noise as adults now, and that's
and don't overthink. Don't think so much. Don't worry about. Don't think about what am I going to do if I'm late for work tomorrow. What am I going? You're not late yet. You're not.
Right.
Don't think like that. Don't think ahead. Just focus on what you're doing right in front of you.
Right. Yeah. Stop overthinking. Just do more. It's another theme that comes up.
Well, just live in the present moment. The past is done. You can't move. You can't travel into the future to see what's going to happen. No second past now is guaranteed.
It's not like you're going to travel back to the 1993 Chicago Blackhawk team of Chris Chelios, Mark Goulier, Jeremy Roenick, Steve Smith.
Wow.
Hold on, I can do it all.
You could just make it up from here.
Ed Belfour.
Is that your uncle?
Ed Belfour and I can't remember the other defenseman. That used to be my squad in the NHL '93.
Before the Lightning?
Yeah. So
I get it.
Nice, dude.
I can't get that other defenseman. It's gonna or Steve Lamar.
Maybe
Was
we
another
don't
guy.
know.
Maybe.
I was hoping he
Honestly,
knew. I was like, this
yeah.
is gonna knock his fucking socks off.
It did, because I'll tell you something. I didn't start watching hockey until like early 2000s. When I was a kid, the Blackhawks weren't on TV.
Oh,
So I didn't watch. My dad didn't follow hockey, so I watched Bears games, and the Cubs were on when I came home from kindergarten. But that was it. I got into the Bulls as I got older because I started to like basketball, and obviously with Jordan, they were everywhere.
Loved the Bulls.
Sure.
Right, but then like the Hawks, it was like I did a commercial with a friend of mine who was from Chicago he was like, "Oh, am I a Cubs fan?" He goes, "White Sox," and he goes, "Hawks." I go, "I don't really watch hockey." He goes, "Well, let's change that." And dude, I got hooked like 2 years before they won that first cup in 2000, or the cup in 2010.
Yeah.
So it was the perfect time. Like I got right, like they had come off a decade of being terrible, and they just started to kick ass, and I was like, "Oh, hello."
Yeah.
So it was really good.
Who did they beat in the finals that year? Was it the Lightning?
No, not that year.
I went to that one of those Stanley Cup games.
That was the third one. That was the third one they won in that three. So the first one was against the Flyers.
Uh-huh.
The second one was against the Bruins, and then the third one was against the Lightning.
Yeah.
And that Bruins one, the first game went into triple overtime, and they played full periods. They played 2 games that first game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was insane.
Yeah. And those hockey players, that's how they kind of live their life, as to kind of bring it all, kind of tie it in. Like, they're very much about the present. They're very much now. They're very humble. They don't worry about a lot of stuff. You ever talk to any of those hockey players?
It's always we, not I.
I know.
They're team players.
Right. They give their teeth for the other guys. Yeah. So.
Dude, I love hockey players. They're great.
Well, we loved having you on, man. We'll have you on again.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come on and promote anything you got coming up, let us know.
Oh, right now I'm just promoting that podcast. Hope people want to check it out.
It's very good, man. I love the one with you and Amy, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're out of here.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.